But for one particular player, the premiere season of Unrivaled, it carries greater importance.
Angel Reese just got a harsh dose of reality, and it's all thanks to Caitlin Clark, whose dominance has completely eclipsed the disaster that is the Unrivaled League.
The success or the failure of Unrivaled, it is going to depend on the drawing power of Angel Reese. Now, me personally, I am leaning towards failure.
Revolutionized women's basketball. But from the moment it launched, it was clear there were serious flaws. While Unrivaled aimed to make big waves, Caitlin Clark has
Unrivaled is giving pretend basketball players the opportunity to make six-figure salaries. For most of these players, that's what it's all about. It's all about the money.
Caitlin Clark, who has been a constant presence in the media. Reese, as the supposed face of Unrivaled, had her team selection video barely scraping 64,000 views, a disappointing number given the hype. Meanwhile, Clark's Simple State Farm commercial garnered 6 times that.
For the first time in her mainstream career, Angel Reese, she will not have the benefit, the luxury of the mainstream spotlight provided by Caitlin Clark.
Unrivaled hoped to create a buzz around Reese. The league's social media debut was completely overshadowed by Clark's ad. Fans and critics are calling out Reese's inability to generate significant attention on her own, something Clark.
To make matters worse, the social media debut of Unrivaled, it was outperformed by a State Farm commercial featuring the only star in women's basketball, Caitlin Clark.
The results have been underwhelming. While some in the media may continue to push Reese as a top star, the numbers and the fan response aren't backing that up. The Unrivaled launch was supposed to mark a new era in women's basketball, but it's been more of a stumble than a triumph. It's clear
Caitlin Clark has been the best thing, the most dominant thing. Remember, there's been good players come out of college, but nobody really cared. We'd seen it. Nobody really cared.
While Reese is struggling to carry the league's weight, Clark remains the true face of women's basketball, and for Unrivaled, that's a problem that's only going to get worse. Unrivaled made a huge misstep when they unveiled their team selection video, essentially their version of a draft reveal. It was a flop, barely reaching 64,000 views, which is shockingly low given the hype they tried to build. In contrast,
now according to Angel Reese and her pretend friends in the mainstream media, this should not be a problem. And it shouldn't be a problem because Angel Reese is just as big of a star as Caitlin Clark. But for some reason, and we're about to find out, if Angel Reese has the drawing power to carry an entire league.
Failure to draw attention is no surprise, though. They miscalculated badly, underestimating Clark's star power while overestimating their own ability to stand on its own. Despite not participating in Unrivaled,
that idiot Angel Reese is trying so hard to latch on to Caitlin Clark by being the heel and then crying about it. You all did this. You all called her a white bitch constantly. You all did this.
Matters worse, Unrivaled launched at the worst possible time, right in the middle of the winter sports season, competing against the NFL playoffs, the NBA, and March Madness. When fans have a choice between watching powerhouse games like Duke vs. North Carolina or a shaky new league with unfamiliar players, it's not hard to guess what they'll choose. It's clear, Unrivaled's debut was anything but revolutionary. Instead of generating excitement, it's been met with ridicule, raising questions about whether the league can survive beyond its first season. At the center of this mess is Angel Reese, who was supposed to be the face of the league. But as the league struggles, Reese's role is already being questioned. Unlike Clark, who has solidified her position as a house.
The team selection video for Unrivaled, it drew 64,000 views. A commercial featuring Caitlin Clark drew 6 times more viewers than Unrivaled. Think it's safe to say they're not off to a good start.
A championship run, much of that spotlight was thanks to the dynamic rivalry with Clark. Now, without Clark by her side or across the court, Reese's star is fading fast. Her involvement with Unrivaled hasn't elevated her profile, it's only exposed her limitations. The numbers don't lie. Caitlin Clark's commercial drew hundreds of thousands of views, while Reese's attempts to generate interest for the league barely made a dent. Fans clearly tune in for Clark's charisma, skill, and status as a general.
Maybe they are not showing their concern because it doesn't exist. Right now, there seems to be zero interest in this stained turd. Yeah, I can't even call it polished at this point. This turd is stained, and here in a couple of months, it is likely to be squashed.
During the NCAA championship or starring in a commercial, Clark knows how to capture attention. The WNBA's success this season has largely been due to Caitlin Clark. In fact, 16 out of the 18 games with over 1 million viewers featured her. It's clear that when Clark plays, fans will watch. Meanwhile, Reese's attempts to carry Unrivaled on her own are faltering. The league's failure to secure Clark's involvement is becoming its biggest flaw, and without her, Unrivaled is struggling to stay relevant. Caitlin Clark didn't just dodge a bullet by staying.
How is Unrivaled supposed to compete with the NFL playoffs, the NBA regular season? How are they supposed to compete with March Madness? What are you going to watch? You going to watch the first round of the NCAA tournament or Unrivaled? Are you going to watch Duke, North Carolina in the regular season or Unrivaled?
Wasn't just a smart move for her career, it was a masterstroke. By opting not to join a league that can't seem to find its footing, she positioned herself as a force above the fray, an untouchable star in women's basketball. Instead, Clark has focused on bigger opportunities, like major brand partnerships and dominating the NCAA, keeping her in the spotlight while Unrivaled fades into the background. Every move Clark makes only strengthens her position as the face of the sport, while players like Angel Reese seem stuck in her shadow, unable to escape her influence. What's telling is how little effort Clark has to put in to maintain her status. A single commercial, unrelated to any league or competition, energized basketball.
I just don't see how this league is going to make it. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. These ladies could surprise me, but January, February, March, those are brutal months to compete on television, especially in sports. I just don't see how a 3-on-3 league featuring WNBA players that people are not watching during the summer is going to be able to compete.
Exponentially. When it comes to draft viewership, Clark did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years for anyone else. For Angel Reese, the contrast is devastating. While Unrivaled pinned its hopes on her to be the marquee star, her struggles to generate buzz have exposed how overestimated her influence was. Reese.
Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this.
Clark continues to soar effortlessly, proving why she's the benchmark for success. The league's failure to get her involved isn't just a missed opportunity, it's a critical flaw that puts its entire future in doubt. As Clark's star continues to shine brighter, Reese's attempts to match her glow seem increasingly futile. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Caitlin Clark is becoming an undeniable icon, while Unrivaled sinks under the weight of its own mistakes. Angel Reese, once seen as the league's savior, now watches her reputation struggle as her inability to capture attention without Clark becomes painfully obvious. Unrivaled's debut was supposed to be a new chapter for.
Clark just came in to play basketball. All of a sudden, the black women of the WNBA decided to knock her on her ass from behind. All of a sudden, the black women, Angel Reese and her teammates, decided to cheer for them. All of a sudden, other black women decided, like Asia Wilson, to be idiots when talking about her, jealous when they're talking about her. Caitlin Clark and her fans didn't start any.
The numbers speak for themselves. Even a simple commercial featuring Clark generated more buzz than anything Unrivaled could produce. Unrivaled's promotional efforts have fallen flat, leaving fans firmly behind Caitlin Clark. People are clearly choosing sides, and they're not backing a struggling team that features players they barely know. Caitlin Clark's approach is simple yet powerful. She shows up, signs autographs, chats with young fans, smiles at the crowd, and most importantly, she plays with unmatched intensity. She competes with a passion that's hard to ignore. For Angel Reese, the situation is much tougher. Without the backing of mainstream support or a strong rivalry with Caitlin Clark, Reese is facing a real struggle to stay relevant. Meanwhile, Clark's decision to stay true to herself and avoid gimmicks has only enhanced her reputation. Each mistake made by Reese or the league only boosts Clark's image as the true star of women's basketball. Unrivaled now faces a tough road ahead. With Reese failing to live up to expectations, it's hard to see how the league can survive, especially with established sports leagues dominating the winter months. While Unrivaled falters, Caitlin Clark's star continues to rise, proving that the future of women's basketball goes far beyond the limited vision of Unrivaled. Unrivaled came onto the scene with big promises but quickly realized that promises mean nothing without real results. One thing Clark does better than anyone else in sports is putting the spotlight on her teammates. When was the last time you heard Caitlin Clark talk about herself or her accomplishments? The answer is never. Her focus on the team is one of the reasons her squad is thriving. She could easily be a self-centered star, but instead, she makes it about everyone else. As Angel Reese struggles, Caitlin Clark only gets stronger. Her legacy continues to grow, no matter what happens with Unrivaled. Whether the league survives its first season or folds, one thing is clear: Caitlin Clark is the true face of the game, and her dominance is undeniable. Do you think Unrivaled is already finished? Can Angel Reese turn things around, or is Caitlin Clark simply too much to overcome? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on this unfolding story.